So we did 2 movies that were Christmas films, and then I showed up and ruined everything.
Oh, this is your fault?
Yeah.
I forgot. I thought that this was a Kyle pick, and it made way more sense in my mind.
So we'll talk about the story, because this is my second time I've watched this movie this year, and it's also the second time I've ever watched this movie. So you're saying that you had the opportunity to make the right decision here, and you didn't.
Yeah.
No. So hear me out. Hear me out. I feel like I signed a check that I felt like I had to cash.
Okay.
And so what happened, I was at a convention by myself. I'm going to assume Scares That Care. And at one point I was like, oh, John Carpenter's Vampires is on Netflix. Let me pop this on. I've never seen it before. And I think I messaged you guys, and the exact text was, it could get bad from here, but I'm 20 minutes into John Carpenter's Vampires, and this shit is perfect horror movie night fodder. And I still stand by that statement. It's Acts 2 and 3 where it gets murky. But I still wanted to talk about it because I do think that, A, this isn't the worst John Carpenter. There are still worse John Carpenter. And B, I really do think that up until the cast gets dwindled down to 3 people, this movie fucking rules for the first 15, 20 minutes of this movie.
Dude, I had to watch this in 2 parts. One, because I ate too many Doritos the first time, and it was so unrelenting that Carly and I looked at each other when 50 minutes left, and we were like, we have to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
It is unrelenting. But the first act feels John Carpenter, and even somewhat into the second act, because you get that priest monologue, and you get some real Carpenter-esque shit. But it also is it's maybe not his worst. It's certainly his most misogynistic.
I was about to say, this fucking sucks, dude. I hated every second of this.
Yeah, really was so uncomfortable.
So I picked this. I put it on the list. I was like, fuck it. I couldn't think of anything else that I wanted to watch. This was, if you remember, I had a different movie that was picked for a specific holiday, and then we switched around the schedule, and I was like, fuck, this doesn't make sense because it's not on the day anymore.
I'm sure that was my fault, but I also don't remember.
But so I quickly switched it out for
there
whatever else was
literally
on the list.
500 movies on your long list.
I know, but I knew that this was still on Netflix. I'm like, all right, this is something that's easily accessible. But so here's the dread of picking this movie, right? So I'm like, okay, it's on Netflix. It's easy for people to access. We just had to move this movie that I was really excited for us to talk about, but now we're not going to talk about it until sometime in the fall of next year. And I'm like, all right, it's available. I remember the first 20 minutes being really good. Let's just go for it. And literally it's in the ether. It's picked. It's on the list. We're doing it. And then a friend of mine, Jim Verrill, who writes for Paste Magazine, released a list of the rankings of all of John Carpenter's movies. And literally he put this, I can't remember if it was the bottom or second to the bottom, but he was like, without a doubt, the most misogynistic movie John Carpenter made. And I read it and I was like, oh no!
So how many weeks did you have between reading that and us discussing that?
That was like a week and a half ago. I was like, oh no. I've got some good news for all of us here, which is I don't particularly like this movie that much either.
Good news,
so you don't have to protect.
Watch it.
You don't have to protect my feelings. We can just go crazy on this.
I'm not gonna, dude.
But
I hated the first act too. I don't know. I don't understand why you like the first act, because this is all fucking garbage. Because James Woods, fucking conservative talk show, James Woods comes in and he's like, "Hey, F word."
Look, there's some problems. I'm not saying that there's not.
This movie is so misogynistic and homophobic, because he's like, hey, Padre, did you get a fucking hard on when you were doing this thing? Like, why?
Dude,
James Woods is so fucking insufferable in this,
and there's no relief in Danny Baldwin. There's no relief for us.
Fucking bad,
because he's the worst.
And it's a weird situation where he's almost gonna rape the girl who gets bitten by the head vampire, but he's like, I took your clothes off, I seen your titties, I seen your cooch, I seen it all. I'm not gonna rape you. and then he's like, I'm in love with her. We're a perfect couple.
Like that, dude. Like like the quickest
awful.
switch.
But it's based on a book, which makes me wonder if the fault falls on the author of the book. Do you know who else was in the running to make this movie for because they've been trying to make this movie since that book came out in 1992.
Fucking why?
Peter Jackson at one point was going to make it. Sam Raimi at one point was going to make it. Ron Underwood was in the running, fresh off the heels of Tremors.
It does look amazing, and I just don't realize it.
So the S in vampires in the novel is an American dollar sign, which
are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Is that on Horror Finds?
I didn't have it. I thought I had it once. No, I would have just sent it to you. Obviously.
No, I don't want it. That's the first fucking book.
It was gonna be your Christmas present.
I'm looking at my notes, and I mean, I guess Kyle and I are both in the hey, the first 20 minutes are insane and fun.
I got 2 pages of notes. I'm good.
Oh, my notes literally stop at when it is about the 15-minute mark, and then it's an hour later. The note is, man, the rest of this movie gets real bad.
You know what this movie felt like to me, and I don't think I'm not trying to give Carpenter any benefit of the doubt here. Because I think that the movies that he's emulating in this thought process are also misogynistic and trash. But this feels like his Fulci or Bava movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where it's just this sort of unrelenting, fucking macho, it just made me so uncomfortable.
You know what?
Unfortunately, there's no translation for me to get lost in. You know what I mean? I have to take. It's very straightforward for me. And it just kind of felt like a extremists fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just this is
James Woods definitely had
is
input.
that right?
Yeah,
no doubt he had to.
This is the thing that bums me out is a couple things. First of all, reportedly, John Carpenter was ready to retire from filmmaking after Escape from L.A. because he was just I realized that I'm
terrible.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I've lost the joy of filmmaking. This isn't exciting. And then he read the script for this and was like, ooh, this is something I want to sink my teeth into.
What?
But that made I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. But then also he chose James Woods over. Originally, he wanted Kurt Russell, and I'm like, would this movie be so much more digestible if Kurt Russell was walking around? Because I do think that you're right. I think James Woods had a lot of input on how this movie flowed to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. And it's I think if it was Kurt Russell, I would buy into how this character being a lot cooler than I think James Woods expects me to think this character is.
I think that there's definitely potential for that. And I don't even think that it's necessarily James Woods and what he brings to the table. I mean, it is.
This
I can't
is still unbridled James Woods. You watch.
Right.
I mean, I know that we're 15 years removed from Videodrome at this point when this came out, right? Maybe about 15 years. But he obviously had no say in that movie, and he's just a blank canvas, and that's good.
Yeah.
But in this movie, he's full on. He's just playing James Wood. James Woods. I actually stopped writing down his character's name. I was just like, James.
Yeah.
For these guys, first of all, their vampire killing shit looks so dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb.
It's awful.
So dumb.
And also his vampire killing squad of elite fighter warriors, they suck.
They suck.
First
they
fight,
suck.
They are getting their asses handed to them by one fucking vampire.
But that is the part I will say that the peak of this movie is maybe the 3 minutes of that vampire is just splitting the guy down the center, punching his hand through his chest.
Time. No.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
fine. No, I'm talking about when the very intro of this, when they go to that nest,
yeah.
and they're getting their shit rocked by one fucking vampire. It's
one vampire.
Quote unquote a goon, which is the non-original. Whatever, dude. Yeah. Whatever. But
no, well, that adds to my whole fucking thought process about this being this sort of fucking extremist militia. And I understand that they're vampires. I understand that they're this evil thing, right? But it's I hate the othering of them so hard. And then they also apparently exist in this world where people don't believe that they exist. They have that conversation.
I love
thousands of them.
Right. It's an open secret because the guys get drunk. They're already gonna get laid. They don't have to brag. Those women are obviously prostitutes.
This transaction's happened.
The money has changed hands, and then they're like, "Yo, ladies, we're vampire hunters. Doesn't that make our cocks look bigger?" No, it doesn't.
No, dog.
What did they even make those spears out of? Those things look like they're
those
tinfoil.
Things are crazy, dude. Those look like they were like left over from laser blast. Like they fucking. They're insanity, and I love that. Like they're so committed.
But I like yours way better.
They are so committed to the fucking bit that, like, especially towards the end where it's just the three of them versus the master, or the master and like whoever's left, right? It's just like James Woods is like, hand me that. Like that's the only thing that's gonna fucking save them. And I'm like,
and it didn't even work when they were fighting against one single woman who was like not even really. Oh, and also, okay, so
maybe she was an amateur vampire.
She was obviously an amateur vampire, but that's the thing is like there are 6 of them, and they had Danny Baldwin out with the fucking the crank on the front of the Jeep or whatever.
He was cranking something out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, also, how fucked would it be if? And I know this isn't an original concept, but I was really feeling it when the original Padre that they had with them in their group is like doing Christian prayers over these charred corpses. What if these fucking dead vampires were Jewish or non-religious, and he's defiling their corpses by praying to a god they don't believe in? You know,
that's
absurd.
Fair.
Like
that's fair.
You.
But you know what? He did get his head blown off with a shotgun.
I did love that part.
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean. That hotel scene is really the only scene you need.
Because
in this whole
it's
movie.
Robert Rodriguez, dude.
Yeah.
That's why you like that scene. And like, so I hate to break it to you, but
yeah.
I don't think that anybody would be surprised if you picked From Dusk Till Dawn, and you still can, as your double feature, because that would totally save
That's
your
what
night.
this is. Well, so this is the only other note I want to mention, because the establishing shot of this hotel scene is that this is a fucking like Motel 6 in the middle of nowhere. But with the divider open, somehow it's like a wedding suite. Like it is the biggest 2 rooms I've ever.
Dude.
Like, how are you going to have an orgy?
I'm like, there are like 50 people roaming around in this motel room, and like I can't even go to a Comfort Inn and fit a fucking air mattress into it, and you've got like 50 people roaming around. Like,
man, I'll tell you. There was something did you hear James Woods, like, he called the head vampire the F word, but he also said something to the effect of, he called him like a fashion victim. And I was like, dude, this the fuck.
He's just like you.
Yeah. The only difference is that his leather coat is longer and black.
He looks like somebody who wants to own a motorcycle and doesn't.
Dude, he wants to own a motorcycle, but he's too embarrassed that he can't afford a Harley. So that belt right there, that brown belt, doesn't even match the brown of his bomber jacket. And he's wearing black gloves, and he's wearing acid wash jeans. He is a fashion victim to the 9s. Dude, I would let that vampire go down on me. Because that is absolutely cunnilingus.
Right. If that was the choice that we had to make, because the F word was tossed around so
suck
much.
The blood from my nuts, dude. And then let James Woods kill me. I don't care.
No.
But listen, I am all for cunnilingus in popular movies and TV because it needs to be normalized. That's what I loved about Bridgerton season 1. That's what I fucking loved about Bridgerton season 2, because it is just as obvious. It's not as often, but it is like so intensely like, I am going down on you.
Right. I'm making a choice.
Yeah. Kyle, do you have a drink for this?
I'm drinking Sip of Sunshine, because all you need is a little sip of sunshine to put you out of your misery if you're a vampire.
And man,
and with those fire wristlets.
Yeah,
great,
dude. You know what I wish is that we could double feature this movie with Easy A and just have that card that she has opening up every time. I gotta fuck up with the sunshine.
God, that movie's so good. I want to ask one serious question, because this movie seems to lean into all of the other vampire things, like sunlight kills them. Here's a cross. That's not great.
Everything about it,
but. How did he get into the hotel? No one invited him in the door, and he just stampades in.
Listen, it's a hotel. He probably paid.
True.
Listen, we're putting way more thought and effort into that than John Carpenter fucking did, or
literally,
the guy who wrote the story.
I was sitting there, I'm like, Who invited him?
Which one of you?
I like how you're like smacking your hand, your hand on the table, like J. Jonah Jameson. Like that's your just
getting. So that was where I was over. It was done.
So listen. So this is the thing that I really don't miss about early 2000s. Is this 99?
This is like 98, 99. Yeah.
Well, let's just call it millennial horror, where there was this whole big thing where they were really awkwardly trying to deconstruct classic monster mythology. And I mean, they did it in Dracula 2000 a bit. I mean, I liked Dracula 2000. I would watch Dracula 2000 any day over this fucking movie ever.
Yeah, I think Dracula 2000's gayer too, which is definitely a win.
It's so much gayer.
Such a
well,
win.
Let's not call it gayer. Let's just call it campier, because
sure.
I think that calling it campier means that there is love for the subculture there, and that's also fair. The reason why it's way more entertaining to watch. But you know, like when James Woods and the new Padre are in the car after he beats the fuck out of the guy and he just like forgives him. I guess that's Catholicism in a nutshell.
He's a good Christian.
Right. Yeah, he's a good Christian boy.
Specifically a Catholic, dude. That Roman Catholic is but anyway, so he's they're in the van and he's beating the fuck out of the dude. He's not like even fazed by it. He's just like, well, it just reminds me of my days in seminary. And he's like, so Padre, listen up. I'm going to give you the 411 on what you don't know about vampires, because you've never seen one before. You only can kill them by a stake in the heart. But also, if you put them out in the sun, it kills them too. But he's like, garlic, it just means they're going to bite you in the asshole. I mean, like, what?
Dude, I don't
miss this whole, like, deconstruction of this like machismo deconstruction of characters, of monsters that we love. Like
somehow he knows better. Like somehow James Woods like knows. But
better. It's also like he has to like sprinkle in his fucking macho bullshit. But I don't miss this whole.
This ain't your daddy's vampires.
Exactly. You know, I mean, like I love deconstructing werewolves and you know, like Creature from the Black Lagoon, or I mean, I think that Cabin in the Woods is fantastic, and it kind of pokes holes and makes pastiches about all these characters, but at the same time, there's love for it. And I don't feel like there's love for vampires in this movie. I think it's just shitting all over Anne Rice because Anne Rice was popular in the 90s. And I think that's really, it's just so much James Woods. He just sucks. Can we start a GoFundMe to get him to go the fuck away forever?
Yeah. You know, I think if anybody feels so strongly the way that we do about James Woods, I would just suggest watching the scene of him getting pulled from the crucifix over and over again and just pretending that was real life, because holy shit. He would have had his neck
snapped. That would not have saved him. He would be fucking dead.
Yo, and they tried to slow it down to make it not look as bad.
Did he do a human on that, or was that a dummy? That was
that was for sure a dummy, but at the same time, it's like,
because that is like Concussion City.
That was
easily,
if not hardcore. Well, I rewound it twice to watch.
I laughed so hard.
One of the other big strikes against, I mean, there's multiple strikes against this movie, but like part of the thing that is really broken with this movie is that ultimately I'm like, I feel more sympathy for every vampire in this movie than any of the heroes. I'm like,
oh yeah,
it's almost like to a certain extent there's a version of Jaws where you can kind of feel bad for the Jaws, because like the shark's just being a shark.
The Jaws,
we're the ones that are invading his world. But it's like, just let the vampires be vampires. Clearly, no one's missing any of these people.
No. I think
even the cardinal, like none of it.
Yeah, no, fuck that guy. As I was watching them talk about this, it kind of reminded me of Buffy and Angel. And he spent, 100 years or something like that eating rats in sewers. I think that's pretty admirable, first of all. And also, it didn't kill him. This is cathartic, though, so I really, really appreciate you picking this, Matt, so that I could talk about it, I guess.
There you go. But you're welcome. See? I'm a good guy, and people should like me.
I love that for me.
Damn it!
I'm just stealing all of Kyle's quotes.
People don't know that there's a third host. They just think it's Scott doing two voices, unless you're on the Patreon.
You know, some people have said that I sound a lot like Kyle. Yeah, Matt, I've heard that too.
We're here to entertain you. We'll sing your songs.
Hey there. Are you obsessed with things that happened before your time? Well, if you are, join me, the host of Before My Time, Kelsey Laurie, to discuss the wonders of the yesteryears that we weren't around to enjoy ourselves. You can find us on all podcast platforms.
Soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
Well, anyway, now that we've completely lambasted Matt's pick, 2 in a row, by the way. Although I would watch Eaten Alive any day over this.
I almost bought it. I almost bought it the other day. I was like, it was used at the archive. If anybody's near Bridgeport, Connecticut, you have to go to the archive. That's Vinegar Syndrome's store.
I want to go.
We'll make a trip.
I want to see you, but also, I
yeah. Even if you don't come see me, you can still.
I'm not going to come to the second smallest state in the union and not fucking come visit my friend Kyle. All right, so Matt, I think that we've said enough about this.
We've said a lot.
So we've said a lot more than I expected. So what do you want to put your double feature at with this?
Well, you didn't have to call me out so hard in this episode. Of course, I had from Dusk Till Dawn.
You all remember this is Matt's pick, right?
But this whole thing is actually Kyle speaking in Matt's voice.
Yeah,
yes, nobody knows who anybody is.
From Dusk Till Dawn was obviously my pick. I had a backup pick when I forgot that I was going to go first on this. But if neither of you pick my backup pick, I'll also mention it.
Kyle, go ahead.
This is gonna be this is dirty of me. I picked another just severely misogynistic movie called Raw Justice. I was watching this movie, and Raw Justice
what a surprise
is an erotic cop thriller starring Pamela Anderson, in which she also is fucking smacked around by 2 men all throughout the movie. Look, I don't want to watch both of these movies together. I'm just saying, if
it's the vibe,
this is the movie that paired in my head as I continued to watch John Carpenter's Vampires over and over again. It's not a double feature I want to sit and watch. It just happens to be like, I was like, oh, this feels like this, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
I'm just excited that next week's movie has no violence towards women whatsoever.
But yeah, so I'm going to go with a palate cleanser. I'm going to go with Vamp, because we already have the prostitutes in that section, and then we have, I know that Vamp isn't, they're strippers, but
But so it's implied that there's some seediness going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I do think that Grace Jones' character, it's the diaspora of sex work. But I would say that Grace Jones's character is actually a prostitute in that movie. But when you're about to pay her, she actually just takes your blood instead.
Right.
So win-win.
It's a currency conversion situation.
Yeah, she's running a regular bordello of blood in that movie.
I would never pick that one though.
My backup.
Sorry, Phil Fondacaro.
My backup plan was Near Dark, which catches a way better vampires in the Old West.
There is one very near dark moment. At the end when Danny Baldwin in Cheryl Lee's character, we're gonna live in this van and continue.
Forever. I'm so disappointed that you guys didn't go with Priest, because that's just a vampire western and it's so good.
Sure.
All right, and we watched that this year, right?
Yeah, so Scott, you got any other questions for me?
Why didn't you pick Priest? Don't you want to watch Priest again in 2022? No, Matt, what have you watched, read, experienced that you want to talk about?
I'll keep it brief. Scott's already pretty upset about my last 2 picks, so I know
I'm not that upset. I'm making it up for the show,
and I know
he's doing a bit.
I know he hated this movie that I actually liked quite a bit. So we'll keep riding that train. I finally watched Last Night in Soho, and I really enjoyed it.
It was fine. I didn't hate it.
Oh, I thought you hated it for some reason.
No, I never said I hated it.
It's definitely not Edgar Wright's greatest achievement, but I think it's fun. I think it's a nice little psychological thriller with some weird sci-fi elements to it, and it's doing a lot. And it moves. For a 2-hour movie, it didn't feel like 2 hours when I was watching it, which is sometimes a huge compliment. I don't know if it's one I'm gonna run right out and rewatch, but
you're not gonna buy that on Blue.
Oh, no. Listen, we're recording this just before Black Friday sales hit, and I'm sure if I happen to find myself inside of a Target or a Best Buy and that's on sale.
What happened?
How did this end up in the car?
No. I just came for a chai tea at the Starbucks. But yeah, if I find myself inside of a store on Black Friday and it's like $5 for Last Night in Soho, I'll grab it. But it's continued my theory that at least Edgar Wright continues to be a director who I will watch anything he makes at least once because he is an interesting filmmaker, if nothing else. Last Night in Soho, liked it.
All right. Kyle, give me what you got.
Well, so how do we feel about, because I would imagine you guys maybe have some things to say too about Hellraiser.
Yeah, we can talk about this.
It's happening.
Okay. All right. I watched Hellraiser. Didn't foresee it being 2 hours.
No.
Didn't think it needed to be 2 hours.
You didn't check the runtime?
No. For somebody as excited as I was, I went in way more blind.
Dude,
than
I never watched a trailer.
To.
You got excited about the trailer coming out and talked about it. I stayed away from everything.
And I've chosen to not do that often, but there was something about Bruckner and and it being Hellraiser property that I was like, I gotta know I just have to get an idea. Hey, look, it's not the great. Hey, look, listen. It's not the greatest. It's really good though. Yeah. I really enjoyed my watch.
It's a popcorn horror movie.
The way I always say it is, it's easily in the top 3 of the Hellraiser franchise, but that's not exactly the highest bar that someone has to cross to get in there. But it's good. It's really good.
And it actually, I'm gonna give props to the movie in a way that I was sitting there watching it, not trying. I don't know. Even we are pretty objective viewers, right? Mm-hmm. But even being objective viewers, sometimes I think that we inevitably have to try to compare, right? I was sitting there being like, this is, I know the Hellraiser lore, but I'm not really comparing it to any of the other movies or even Barker. I mean, I guess I was comparing it a little bit to Barker's work and his themes, but I felt like I was really watching it through new eyes. Whereas something like Leatherface or the new Texas Chainsaw, I couldn't not watch it through the eyes of having seen those other things. I don't know. I feel like I had one foot in, one foot out. And I don't think I chose to do that. I think that the movie actually evoked that, being you can kind of watch this through new eyes. And have
I think that's what
makes
a really good reboot.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Kind of okay, this let me
I would love to hear what you guys think about it, because we haven't talked about it.
There's one thing that didn't sit well with me that I'm excited to talk about, but I want Scott to talk first.
Well, I'm not gonna. I'll refrain from full conversation, but I just want to say one thing about reboots or reinventing an original.
I would just say this was straight up franchise. An adaptation of the Hellbound Heart.
It was just a different adaptation, and I liked that it expanded the lore a lot. I think that it's cool that Clive Barker liked it enough that he's going to expand upon the lore in a book, because that man has no desire to write horror anymore. So
he's good, dog. He's good,
and he hasn't for decades. But that's super cool. I love that. But what I did want to say is that I think a good reboot is one. Now, I'm not putting it on the same level as this movie, but I think a good reboot is one where people that love the original can come in and it doesn't feel like it's leaning too heavily on the original, but then also new fans can come, or new viewers can come in, and they can really enjoy themselves without fear of missing out. And what it reminds me of in that sense is Evil Dead, because I think that Evil Dead 2013 is, to me, that's a perfect reboot. I mean, that is the perfect reboot. I think that Fright Night is super close to being a perfect reboot. But yeah, I think that a really good reboot is one where you don't have to know the lore to enjoy, but also if you do know the lore and you still can enjoy it and you can detach from that lore, that's a really good reboot.
Yeah.
And I think that Hellraiser really succeeds in that sense.
Definitely.
It has a lot of pitfalls otherwise. And I think that the pacing is not terrible for a 2-hour movie. I just think that it could have shaved off 15 minutes and been really good.
Definitely. No, I feel the same.
So this is a weird thing for me to complain about that didn't sit well with me with the new Hellraiser movie. Mm-hmm. It's the goddamn women playing pin. No,
man, someone's gonna take that little fucking bit. You're gonna get canceled, and I'm gonna have to be the main host. I'm gonna have to do all the editing. I'm gonna have to post everything.
No,
don't do this to me.
The thing that actually didn't sit well with me in this movie is one of the things that I found interesting with the first Hellraiser and with, to a certain extent, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, is that for the most part, especially when we're talking about the Cenobites only kill bad people. You know what I mean? Like, it's like bad people who have actively taken the risk to invite them into their world. The girl's brother, like, accidentally, unknowingly being murdered by them so early in the movie, like, really sat weird in my gut, because I'm like, that's just a totally innocent bystander who had nothing to do with any of this shit.
That's the difference, is that with this iteration of Hellraiser, they're saying that they just have to have sacrifices.
Yeah.
They don't. It's not like you called, we came.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about a bad adaptation whatsoever. I guess in my mind, though, that for some reason that really bothered me, because, you know, like, there's certain movies where you go into it and you're like, these characters are going to be killed, whether they're good people or bad people, because that's the framework of this franchise.
Yeah.
And that, in my brain, for the most part, has never been a very Hellraiser franchise theme. You know what I mean?
I felt that too.
It didn't take me out of the movie, but I was like, fuck, this bothers me a little bit.
I think it makes it more dangerous for good people, though.
Yes.
No, totally.
And
then
that.
Putting it in the framework of, like, somebody is an addict or a recovering addict in a 12-step program, but there's also, like, you know, a CD person in the 12-step, you know, there's, like, all of these, you know, all of these things, and not a CD person in a 12-step program, but, like, you know, there's other people who are relying on you, but you shouldn't rely on that. Like, I actually really enjoyed the relational dynamics of everybody going into the story. You know, like, I thought it was very believable. Like, I was like, this is complicated. Like, you know, there's complicated feelings between brother and sister, or between brother and boyfriend and sister, or recovering addict and recovering addict. There's just a lot of, like, but it also just, like,
wasn't
let it
perfect
be.
writing, but I think that it had its head
definitely
screwed on
right
for sure. No, I mean, but at the end of the day, it was a damn good movie. Like,
what was your favorite? So can we talk about our favorite Cenobite without spoiling anything? I think that we can. Probably
it's been out for months. If you're listening at this point,
fucking Windbag killed me, dude. Windbag I loved it, and it felt.
The throat?
Yeah, well, no, the one that had the wheeze, that ended up moving a little bit more silent.
Gasp.
Yeah, the gasp.
Yes.
Excuse me, the gasp, who had more of, like, a Silent Hill movement, which
really Silent Hill.
But the gasping actually audibly when they came in and out of the scene was fucking killer.
Yeah, I think that this movie did everything right when the Cenobites were on screen. That's you know, I don't love some of the CGI. It was a little bit rough, but the amount of practical that they did in 2022 was just
especially like
such a love letter.
Especially like set practical too, like allowing those walls to like actually having those moving
I love
sets.
that idea of that the labyrinth will come into the world.
Yes,
basically line up spaces into the, there was so much to love about it.
There was.
I'm just trying to be measured in my love for it, because I think that there is room for improvement, and I know that they're going to do another one, which is great. I hope that they amp up the good and push back some of the negative. In my opinion, some of the negative is kind of putting people in situations that seem a bit contrived, like the brother, but also that is the Silent Hill of the movie, where it's like you have to put the female protagonist in the position to go through with things. So you get to see all the kills, you get to see the Cenobites, you get to see everything that happens.
And if they do part twos the way that we've talked about them, then it can be a fucking really good part two. Like it can be
also,
amp up.
Did you see the argument that everybody seems to have now that the Hell Priestess is Kirsty?
No, but that's an interesting.
Kirsty Cotton is that a lot of people have rallied behind that argument, or that fan theory. It's not implied at all, but the time frame matches, and I think it's really interesting if they do that for the next Hellraiser installment. That'd be fantastic. If they don't, I'm still gonna have a good time and I'll watch the day it fucking comes out.
Right. That's interesting.
For me, can I say the opposite watching experience was Barbarian?
Well, I haven't watched it yet, and I do plan on watching it.
I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm not having a conversation about it on the show.
But yeah, I liked, what was it? The Asphyx was the one that was like I enjoyed that one as far as Cenobites that we saw throughout the movie.
I didn't like the mother. I thought that was
mother was whatever.
First of all, that character wasn't on long enough to really like validate having it, and maybe some of it was left on the cutting room floor. I don't know, but also, if they really wanted to be transgressive, they should have done a lot more with the belly of the mother. Make it really fucked up. Like I feel like it was
I honestly don't even know which Cenobite you're talking about.
It's the ultimately like super pregnant one. You see her for literally 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When all of them are coming out of the walls, it's like, I just felt like it was too safe. They were like, we're going to be transgressive. We're going to be transgressive. Oh, we got to step back from that one. People aren't going to like that. I'm like, if you're going, fucking take the final step there. I mean, I'm not saying it like violent. I don't want it to be like violence against babies or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if you're stepping
don't pussy
there,
out,
fucking
like, or don't cower about it like halfway.
Don't take a half step. Take the full step, because you got people with flayed flesh everywhere. You got like boobs falling off of bodies, everything.
You kind of see a dick right at the end of the movie. Sorry, hold on. That spoils everything.
I will say that the last we do see someone being turned into a Cenobite at the very end of the movie, and I'm like, I cannot wait to see what the final result of this thing is.
It did feel like
the main antagonist of the next one,
and it did feel like a proper transition to what Hellbound Heart, like if we even kind of follow the similar themes of Hellbound, like I was like, oh yes, like let's do this. I remember seeing the mother. I watched the second half of it during the daytime, and there was I mean it can't see anything.
It's a pretty dark movie.
This is not a good movie to watch during the daytime, because I watched it during the daytime and I swear that just the slight glare of sun on my TV screen made it hard to see certain parts of the movie.
The body of the mother looks like the They Live reporter.
Yes.
And I can't stop seeing it. Anyway.
Well, guys,
thank you guys for waiting. And
wait. I have one thing beyond saying I didn't like Barbarian.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing I really did like.
Yes.
I've been watching Cabinet of Curiosities.
Oh.
Which is also on Netflix. And I love the theme song. I mean, I like it. I think that they're a little long. They could be 45 minutes instead of an hour and 3 minutes, and they'd be probably a little bit better pacing wise. But the theme song is so good that by the time this comes out, my metal cover of it will be ready.
Nice.
Because I'm going to finish it tomorrow.
Have you gotten to the autopsy episode? Is all I'm going
to. The autopsy is it's untouchable. Like that,
so fucking good.
It's so good, and I mean, it's got F. Murray Abraham in it. Yeah. Like you can't top that.
I like the Christmas one too with my girl Kate McCucci.
From Simon Garfunkel and Oates. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Garfunkel and Oates.
I loved that episode. I loved it so much. And
how many episodes are there?
8?
I think there are
6, 8, okay,
8 or 9. I'm only on episode 5 right now.
They did something really weird with the release of that, which like, I don't know. Netflix is doing this weird. They're sticking their heels in the ground in a way that I don't like, where they're just like, we will not do weekly releases of shit. And I'm like, please do weekly releases of shit, because you're dropping too much
Works
shit.
For literally every other streaming service.
But for Cabinet of Curiosities, they did 2 episodes a day for a week. So it was like Tuesday was 2 episodes, Wednesday was 2 more episodes, Thursday was 2 more episodes, and Friday was 2 more episodes. I'm like, motherfucker, just spread it out. Like, just start in September.
It's like they're trying to get viewers addicted to a thing that they can't make anybody addicted to because there's too much of it on the market anyway. Like,
and I don't understand.
Cares.
This is my last statement on Netflix, because we've been on so many tangents this episode. But like, for a company who's literally just watching their stock plummet plummet on a regular basis, you would think that something that forces people to stay subscribed to their platform to watch the show that they like makes way more sense. Like, it's like, yeah, because everyone else otherwise is just going to cancel their subscription and then re-sign up when the new season of Stranger Things drops or something. But like, if Stranger Things is stretched out across 2-3 months because you're dropping the episodes once a week, guess what? There's 3 months that they have to pay for your thing.
Right.
Like, it's just, from a business standpoint, it just makes sense.
Listen, if Math Kelly has it right, you guys need to listen.
God damn it. All right. Well, this was a very angry but fun episode that went way longer than I had any imagination it could possibly go on John Carpenter's Vampires from 1998. Next week, it's Christmas, motherfuckers, so strap in.
Ho, ho, ho.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.